Hey kids, it's Papa. You ready to explore the Bible? All right, very good. Well, we've been talking about Gideon. And God had gone and decreased Gideon's army down to 300 men. That's all he had. See, God was going to work a miracle. And God can work a miracle by a few people or by many people. But God was going to do this one by a few, just to show Gideon, hey, I'm in charge. I can do this. I got your back. That's what God does. So here we see that Gideon says, okay, how are we going to do this? And God gave Gideon a plan. And that plan was that he sent all of those other soldiers home, and he just kept the 300 there. And he gave each of those 300 a trumpet. Now, these were normally long horns, or sometimes they might have been a ram's horn, shofar. But they were trumpets, okay, and you could blow them, and they were normally used by the military to send signals to the army, and so when you would hear a trumpet, you would know there was something military going on. But he also then gave them clay pots, and he put lamps inside the clay pots, and he said, okay, I'm going to divide you into three groups, and so he divided those 300 men into three groups of 100 each, and he sent them out, and the enemy was down in the valley, and so they went up on the hillside where they could be seen and heard. And a lot of times, particularly when there's no wind in the middle of the night and there's no, the sound will carry a long way. So here's all the Midianites, and they're thinking, no problem. Hey, we're safe. The Israelites are just a few. And so they're down in the valley, and they're sleeping, and they think there's no problem. And suddenly they hear the sound of a trumpet, and there's burp, 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 and they hear this trumpet, and they go running out of their tent, and they look up on the hillside, and they hear this crash of clay pots, and they see a bunch of lamps, and they can see 300, and if they can see 300, there's probably thousands and thousands of men, and they think, oh no, we're going to die. And suddenly he sees somebody coming running at him with a sword, and so he grabs his sword and he kills the person. He realizes, oh, I just killed my buddy. And then somebody else sees him killing a Midianite, and another Midianite kills him, and they're fighting against each other. And the Bible says that God turned all of them against each other. So they were fighting each other. And there's Gideon up on the hillside, holding up his lamp, blowing his trumpet, and all of the people are, shouting. And they're also, by the way, they shouted, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon, And they're making all this noise, and the Midianites are killing each other. And suddenly the Midianites break and they start running. Okay, and they don't have anything. They don't have a sword to fight with. They're just running. They're scared to death. Middle of the night. They don't know what's going on. And panic. And they're running. And Gideon says, get after them. And so they're chasing them. And they're chasing the enemy. And then he said, you know what? We need some help. So he sent some messengers to run fast around to the other Israelites to come out and to cut them off and to prevent them from getting away. And so there was a great slaughter. And God worked an amazing miracle using just 300 men and a little bit of interesting tactics. God did this great miracle for them to deliver them from the Midianites. And what he was trying to show them was, listen, I am God and you are not. Now, listen, that's an important lesson for us to remember. Because we think we're all that in a bag of chips, We think we're pretty special. And God has to occasionally remind us that he is God and we are not. Because it is our tendency to worship ourselves, to want to say, I am the greatest and I am pretty good. And really, you're not the greatest. And in the big scheme of things, you really think you're that good? Not really. Now, we need to understand that we have value and God can use us. And with God, we can do great things. But it isn't us. It's God. And the sooner you get that into your head, and the sooner you get willing to give God the glory for everything in your life, the better your life is going to be. Because if you go around like the rest of this world with, your head back and thinking, I am someone and I am good, you know what? God's just going to have to keep knocking you down and showing you that, you know what? You're great with God, but without him, you're nothing. And therefore, God is great, and really we are not, okay? And so just remember that. There were 300 men that God used to defeat a multitude of the enemy. What a great thing. But also, not only the 300 men, but God used a plan. And God used that plan to do some great things. But it was the power of God that did it. So remember, there are times when God has to remind us that he is God and we are not. Okay? So, very good. Hey, love you guys. We'll talk to you later. See you. Bye-bye.